My dad's ex-wife is trying to blackmail me into paying her rent. So here's the situation. My dad passed away 3.5 years ago when my half-brother was 11 years old. My dad and his ex-wife had been separated for about 5 years before his death, but they weren't legally divorced. During that time, they didn't really have much contact, and she didn't join any family gatherings or events. Even during the funeral, she wasn't there where my aunt, my grandma, and I, 32 female, were, and I didn't have a close relationship with her. My dad was also struggling financially, and he didn't left anything behind apart from a small boat he had purchased in my name, which I sold and put the money aside for my brother's future and started paying towards his needs such as education fees and monthly allowances for him. My dad had still been supporting my half-brother's mom financially, even though they weren't living together, and I only had to communicate with her a few times after his passing about my brother's expenses. Here's where things get tricky. My aunt has been paying the rent for my dad's ex-wife and my half-brother for the past 3.5 years, as my dad's ex-wife claims to be struggling financially. She works full-time but also receives a pension through my dad. Now the landlord wants them to move out, and my aunt, who has been helping with rent all this time, is not in a position to pay for the rent in the future apartment. My dad's ex-wife is now asking me for help with rent, claiming she's still struggling. I'm honestly conflicted. I don't have a strong relationship with her, and I don't feel it's my responsibility to help her out with rent, especially when I'm already helping my brother. I've made it clear that I can't help with the rent, but she's persistent and threatening me to tell my brother that I'm this bad sister who is not helping him out with their housing situation, and she told me if I'm not helping her out with rent, I shouldn't act like a good sister and help out on anything else as well. I feel like it's not fair that I should take on this burden when I'm already looking out for my brother's well-being, and especially when my aunt has already been helping her all this time. My primary focus is on my brother's future, and I just don't want to take on any more responsibilities that aren't my own. I also want to mention that while my dad financially supported my dad's ex-wife when they were separated, their relationship was strained, and I never felt close to her. I'm struggling with whether I'm being unreasonable for not helping her, even though she's in a tough situation. Edit update. Thank you everyone for supporting my decision. I'm overwhelmed by the support I've received. I just want to provide a bit more context about the countries involved without going into too much detail. I'm originally from a Middle Eastern country and moved to Europe a couple of years ago to work under better conditions. My brother and his mom still live in my home country. Things have been tough there just like everywhere else, and she is not the only one struggling. In our culture, families help each other out. However, even though my family loves my brother and has done everything to support him, we feel like she is using us at this point, and I don't want to give in to her manipulation. My mom was a single parent who worked 2 jobs to provide me with housing and all my needs until I was able to provide for myself, so her attitude is really frustrating me even more. As some of you suggested, I don't want to help her with budget planning or finding a new apartment because I'm afraid that if I help her even a little, she'll keep asking for more. I also think she wants to maintain an expensive lifestyle. She isn't into drugs or gambling as far as I know, but she does spend a lot on luxury cosmetics, branded clothes, and even some Botox and similar treatments. Regarding taking my brother to live with me, it would be very complicated due to visa processes, but if things get worse, I will do everything in my power to arrange that. I told her that life is tough for everyone. I'm in no position to pay rent, and I'm not going to send her any money from my brother's account for her rent because he will need it more in the future. It is her responsibility to find somewhere to live within her budget. I also told her I don't want her to contact me ever again about anything related to this topic, as I don't believe it is my responsibility to help her. She was shameless enough to say that she didn't want the full rent, just my share that I had to support for my brother's sake. I will send my brother a text message in a couple of days, letting him know that I love him, I'm always there for him, and he can reach out to me personally whenever he wants. I'm also considering giving him a debit card. She has until the end of this month to leave the current apartment, and I'm waiting to see how things will unfold. Update. Over the weekend, I realized I was blocked on socials by the ex-wife, and also my brother removed me as well. I reached out to my brother directly because I wanted to make sure he knew that none of this was his fault, and that I will always be there for him. I didn't want to say anything that could damage his relationship with his mom, but I needed him to know that I did nothing against him, and that he can always reach out to me. To my relief, he responded right away and reassured me that he has no hard feelings toward me at all. He already knew that a lot of what his mom told him wasn't true, and even said he was actually happy about the decision I made. He told me that if he were in my position, he would have done the same thing. One of the most upsetting parts of our conversation was when he admitted that he never liked asking me for money through his mom because it made him feel like a beggar, but she insisted on it. He also told me that she had been looking for an apartment way beyond her budget and had been trying to collect money from different people to afford it, which confirmed my suspicions. I also learned that now they found an apartment within whatever budget she has. What really broke my heart was when he said he needed to delete our messages because his mom sometimes checks his phone, and if she found out we talked, she would be very upset with him. It made me realize just how much control she has over him. I reassured him that the money I was sending for him is still his, kept safely with me, and that when he needs anything, I will find a way to help him, but it won't be through his mom anymore. He understood and seemed relieved. He also told me that he's already thinking about his future carefully and wants to choose a profession where he can be financially independent, so he never has to worry about money. Honestly, I was happily surprised by how mature and self-aware he is for a 15-year-old. Despite everything, he's handling the situation with so much understanding and perspective, and it makes me even prouder to be his sister. For now, I will keep in touch with him privately to make sure he knows he is not alone. I told him that when he grows up, I'll be there to support him, especially for things like university. He knows that no matter what happens, I will always have his back. Edit, I'm not giving him a debit card or anything as clearly he doesn't need and want it. I will save the money for his future.